Joining me now is Paul Brady, a cruise expert and the news director at Travel and Leisure. Good morning, Paul.
Morning.
It's great to have you on the show today. So let's talk about this. Okay, Viking, biggest IPO of the year, and it's the latest company in the cruise sector to join the long list of over 2,400 listed companies here at the New York Stock Exchange. So tell our viewers more about Viking's place in this industry.
Yeah, huge and really impactful. I think you've seen them grow over almost 30 years into one of the biggest cruise lines in the world. You know, readers of Travel and Leisure love Viking, voted it one of the top cruise line in 2023 in our World's Best Awards, and that's for river, ocean, and expedition. So a huge, major force in the industry.
Amazing. So why do you think your readers and your customers like Viking so much?
Well, I think they do a lot of things right. They have this great sort of synergy of value, consumer service, great design, but also they take you to destinations that people want to actually go to and experience. So having those free shore excursions as part of their offer is a big value add for consumers.
And you know, so I was on the ship yesterday, one of their excursion ships, excuse me. So I was speaking with Dr. Brady, actually. She is the on-site scientist for this vessel. I thought that was so significant and very interesting because you don't often hear about cruise lines having a scientist on board. And she was telling me everywhere they go in the world, they collect these samples and they work with the federal government actually to try to do good for our worlds. Isn't that so interesting?
Absolutely. I think it's fascinating. You know, we've had an article recently about the fact that they collect weather data. So guests on the ship can go out, watch a weather balloon be launched, whether you're in the Great Lakes or whether you're in Antarctica, and that data is sent back to the NOAA, you know, to do weather forecasts and all that sort of thing. So it's really fascinating. Consumers love it, and to be hands-on and experience, you know, the oceans in that way, I think is something you simply can't find on what they call a land-based vacation.
And you know, I want to switch gears a little bit because right now on a lot of Americans' mind is the Fed decision coming up this afternoon. Inflation, it's at the forefront of all these discussions, especially here on Wall Street. So tell me how all this talk, how the Fed decision today will impact the cruise industry.
Well, you know, inflation I think is on everybody's mind for sure. That has definitely impacted the cruise industry and the travel industry more broadly. But I think one of the stories that the cruise industry needs to do a better job of telling, frankly, is the value proposition. You know, you think about all of your sightseeing included, you think about the stay on board the ship, the meals, the entertainment, all of that, often at a price that's far better than what you pay for a similar land vacation. So I think that's an area of opportunity for the cruise industry, even in an inflationary environment.
And you know, as I mentioned earlier on in the show, the demand for cruises, it's on the rise, right? I mean, the passenger volume has reached 31.7 million in 2023, which is nearly 7% higher than in 2019 before the coronavirus pandemic. Obviously, things shifted because of that pandemic, but from your vantage point, what do you think is driving the surge now?
Well, never count the cruise industry out, I would say, you know, and it's going to be record numbers of passengers this year, I think because of the value proposition, but also where they go. You know, people are excited to get back out and explore the world. And what we haven't seen in the travel industry is higher prices dampening overall demand. And so people want to explore Antarctica. They want to go back to Asia. They want to sail around Japan. They want to sail through the Panama Canal, you know, and you can only have those experiences on a ship. And then, by the way, you get great value for that vacation.
I mean, who doesn't want to see the world, right? And I mean, as we're talking right now, we're getting images, just as so everyone knows, we're getting images of them walking on the floor right now as they get ready to sign the Distinguished Guest Book and open up the U.S. equity markets. But how do you think people can find value or savings when it comes to cruise lines in 2024 and their vacation plans as summer is right around the corner?
Yeah, for sure. You know, you get a lot of inclusions with cruise lines. Viking is one of the all-inclusive cruise lines, but several of them include everything. But it's entertainment, shore excursions, food, drinks even. But you can also look at off-season, and we're seeing at TNL a lot of interest in off-season Europe travel. So think October, November, even into December. You know, I once spent a Thanksgiving holiday on a Viking river ship, and it was one of the most magical experiences. No crowds, no waits at any museums, and by the way, after Thanksgiving dinner, no dishes to clean up. So that was a win.
That's always a huge perk. That's also a huge perk. So we're getting the book signing right now as everyone is tuning into the show. But you know, are there any sort of credit cards or, I don't know, rewards programs out there that could really help you build status with cruise lines? Do you know of any?
Yeah, I think this is another area of opportunity for the lines, to go deeper into those programs. I think you're seeing World of Hyatt and a cruise line called Limelight Expeditions have a bit of a tie-up, but I think there's still more opportunity there to work in the points program the same way we've seen the airlines have such success.
Now, like I said, summer is just around the corner. What would you say are some of the most popular destinations? I know you mentioned the specific months for different parts of the world, but what are you noticing right now in your reporting?
Sure. Overall, Caribbean is still number one if you look globally. Southern Mediterranean is also very, very popular. And you look at places like Barcelona, Rome, Athens, and those are almost oversubscribed, I would say, especially in the summer months. So we're seeing the ships that are really popular with our readers are heading north.
Okay.
You get cooler climate even in the summer, but sailing around Iceland, sailing the Baltic, sailing to places like Oslo and over the coast of Norway, beautiful places that are easier to see on a ship than they would be any other way, and those are really resonating with consumers. Asia is another one. Viking is one of the first cruise lines to head back to mainland China.
Wow.
And that's going to be, I think, something interesting to watch. Consumer appetite for trips to China and Hong Kong while these ships are there and making, sort of easing the way back to Asia.
And they were telling me how they also offer cruises to Egypt
and
Antarctica. Very very difficult places to get to. And what better way to get there than by just sleeping overnight on a cruise ship and getting to your destination? What other trends are on your radar?
Generally speaking, I think people are really embracing paying for value, right? So we were talking about inflationary environment and prices are up. Consumers aren't shy when it comes to travel about paying more as long as they're getting more for that extra spend, So hotels, especially the all-inclusive model, is really popping right now. Hyatt, again, is making some big investments there, and you see people really interested in all-inclusives. On the airline side, people are spending up for those premium seats, whether it's premium economy or business class. If you're delivering the value as the travel service provider, I'm seeing guests are really willing to spend.
Wow. And what would you say is in store for the rest of the year in the cruise line industry or next 3 to 5 years?
I think it's really a moment for cruise. If there's one thing to think about, it's don't count them out. They went through a difficult couple years and now they're back with record occupancy. So a lot of ships on order, a lot of ships to fill, but I think consumers, once they get on board, realize the value proposition, and who doesn't want to make those great memories, whether it's sailing around Italy, going to Japan, or going to Antarctica. My goodness.
Even just saying these places, I'm already thinking, okay, what cruise do I need to book for my summer travel?
Right.
Well, thank you so much, Paul, for joining me today.
My pleasure.